All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Before we get started, just a couple of those normal reminders. We will have time for questions at the end of the presentation. You can type those in by clicking the Q&A or chat section in the lower portion of your control panel. Feel free to chat between yourselves as well throughout. We'll be posting a recording of the webinar on our blog. The link for that will be shown at the end. And if you would like a PDF copy of the presentation, there will be a link to download that on the same post as the recording. If your question does not get answered today, excuse me. If your question does not get answered today, or if you think of any others, please email that support inbox, which will be shown at the end as well. All right, what do we have on the agenda for today? Boosting energy. Who doesn't want more energy, right? It's an energy draining world out there. So, we're going to talk about some tips today to increase your energy in the moment, and then we'll discuss some long term strategies so you can keep those levels up on a consistent basis to keep that battery full. So let's jump into it. Let's get into those quick tip solutions first. Maybe you got home late, or you had a sick kiddo, or someone that caused your sleep to suffer, and now you're not feeling so hot energy wise the next day, right? What are some things that you can do in the moment to give you a little boost? First idea, get up and move. We'll touch on the long term energy effects of exercise in a few minutes, but just getting up and getting your blood flowing for a couple minutes even can help clear your head and boost that energy. Exercise gets your blood flowing, which brings oxygen up to your brain, which helps clear out that brain fog and gets that mind activated. You don't have to do a full workout or anything. Just get up for a couple minutes, swing your arms around, do some steps in place or some stretching, and boom, instant energy boost. Side note, some people specifically do yoga for that energy boost, as a lot of poses help increase that blood circulation and blood flow even more. So a few downward dogs in the middle of your midday slump can help bring you back to life. Next tip is to drink some water. Did you know that one of the first signs of dehydration is feeling tired? Makes sense when you think about the fact that our bodies are over half water, right? Even a small decrease in our hydration levels can mess with our body, and energy levels are one of the first things affected. So when you're getting up and moving like that first tip, grab that water bottle. At the same time, take a drink. Now, there's different suggestions on how much water to drink each day. You have half your body weight in ounces, more if you're active. Some say 64 ounces to start, or 8 glasses that are 8 ounces each. Some go by the color of your urine. I'm not going to dive into that now, but I think most of us can safely say we should be drinking more, probably, right? So use that tip in the moment, and also make it a goal to drink consistently throughout the day, and you'll hopefully start to see some improvements in that energy. Next tip for energy, grab a healthy snack. When your blood sugar drops, you can start to feel that brain fog and start to feel tired, right? Getting in some calories to give you some energy is a great way to perk up. The key to this, though, is to choose the healthier options when you can. So, for example, a sugary snack might give you a short term boost, right? But it's going to lead to another drop in a short amount of time because your body is going to burn up that energy really quickly, leaving you feeling tired again. Combining some protein with complex carbohydrates is a great strategy. So, by complex carbs, I mean carbs that have things like fiber that are going to take longer to break down in our bodies than simple carbs or refined carbs, which break down just like sugar does really quickly. So when we eat those complex carbs, we have energy that lasts us for hours, not minutes. So things like fruits, veggies, nuts, beans, whole grains, and then combining that with the protein, which again takes even longer to break down, will create that fuel that's going to last you a lot longer than grabbing a donut full of sugar, for example. So apple and banana slices, and peanut butter or other nut butter. So, get that fruit in there, you get those complex carbs, and then you get that protein with the nut butter. Granola and berries, cottage cheese with pineapple. There's lots of different examples you can play with. Throw them in the chat if you have a good high protein, good complex carb snack that you do. Right now, I think a lot of us just grab that short burst food, right? And then we need to keep grabbing that food because we go up and down. That blood sugar's up and down, up and down. And we're like, oh, we'll have some more food, but it's not the right food. And leading when we have those not so good options, that's going to lead us to some other health concerns regarding sugar intake, right? And other not so good ingredients. So when you're looking to use food as a quick energy source, just try to make it the best quality that you can so you get the most effective and efficient outcome when it comes to that energy for the rest of the day. Next tip is to get outside. I know this isn't always possible, but if you can, a short walk outside can do wonders for your energy level. Now, this partially goes along with just the get moving tip, right? You have to walk typically to get outside, so you get that benefit, but just being outside in nature in general has benefits as well. So first, just the fresh air. A lot of times it's, maybe a cool fresh air hits you and can help wake up that brain. Sunshine also is going to help us too, right? It helps with our sleep wake set schedule. So sunshine lowers our body's production of melatonin, which is a hormone that makes us tired, right? So getting a dose of sunlight in the morning or at lunch can help lower that melatonin when we don't need it, and then it'll raise up when we get in the dark later, which is when we want that melatonin to pop in so we can sleep. Sunshine also increases our serotonin levels, which are feel-good neurotransmitter, which improves our mood and in turn can give us a quick boost of that energy, right? Vitamin D is also produced when we're in the sun, which impacts our mental health as well. Now, if you can't get outside, get near a window. That's going to help too. You're going to get some of that sunlight in. But again, if you can get outside just for a couple minutes, it can help with that energy. All right, last few quick ideas here. First one is listen to some music. You've all had that song that you haven't heard maybe in a long time, right? Come on, and you immediately feel better, immediately puts you in a good mood and energizes you, right? Music connects so many of us to good thoughts, good memories, or even just a good beat makes you want to move and maybe even sing along, right? Which helps boost that energy. Bonus, if you sing, you can boost that energy even more. Now, if you're at work, you might not want to do that, but hey, if you're feeling it with your coworker, have a quick karaoke session, right? Get you both energized. And if you do that, you might get a good laugh as well, which is our next tip. Laughing. So singing, laughing have similar release of feel-good hormones as exercise, actually. So finding something that can make you smile and laugh can give you a boost of oxygen to the brain, which helps us perk up, right? So whether it's a song, whether it's laughing, whether, it's a funny video or telling a joke, just something that's going to make you smile will release those good things. And again, if we combine it with moving, we combine it with water, you've got lots of different things to try to get that energy up throughout the day. Next tip is regarding temperature. So being too warm, you've probably all some experienced this, right? It can make you drowsy. Now, you can't necessarily control the thermostat all the time, right? But if you have layers on, for example, take off that top layer. You can splash some cold water on your face or your neck. You can hold an ice cube to your wrist or the back of your neck. I'm pretty sure that's going to wake you up, right? Especially if you accidentally drop it down the back of your shirt or something. That'll get you moving too, right? So again, think outside the box on stuff. Anything that's going to kind of wake up that body can be an advantage to perk up that energy for a little bit if you're not feeling that great that day energy wise. Next thing that I don't think a lot of us really think about is your posture. So this is more for people, if you're at your desk or even driving, if you're slouched forward or if you're just leaning back kind of casually, this can actually make you more tired because what it does is it puts unnecessary stress on your muscles, on your joints, on your ligaments, which can lead to fatigue because you're wearing your body out actually. So if you focus on good posture, sitting up straight, keeping your shoulders down and back, put your knees over your feet. Again, ergonomics is a whole different topic. We actually have a webinar on ergonomics if you want to search for that as well to get into a little bit more. But again, quick internet search can help you find more tips too. But something to think about with your posture. If you're actually sitting up straight, it can help those energy levels. And last quick tip, use scent. Some scents are known for invigorating our minds. This is not a whole list by any means. I think some of you threw some stuff in the chat there as well. Peppermint, citrus smells like orange, lemon, grapefruit, other ones like jasmine, rosemary, eucalyptus, if I can say that, are popular options. So again, some of you may have your own scents that perk you up, similar to music, right? Sometimes scents can create a positive memory. So, whatever you enjoy, whatever's going to put a smile on your face or again, kind of invigorate you, have those scents handy for a mid-afternoon lull as well. Yes, peeling an orange. Someone put peeling an orange too. And then eat that orange for some nice natural sugars and carbohydrates, right? And pair it with the protein and you're all set. All right, so those are the quick tips that we've got for kind of the in the moment situations, right? Where you just kind of need that pick me up. But the best solution for increased overall energy is going to be that long-term solution, right? So, I want to talk about the different areas in our health that can help build our energy so we can feel as good as much as possible and maybe not need to reach for some of those quick tips. And then those are fine, those are all natural ways. But again, if we do long-term solutions, get into good habits, we're going to hopefully feel that energy all day, no matter what. So I'm going to start with sleep, right? This one's pretty obvious, right? Sleep is our body's time to rest, to rejuvenate, making us ready for the day, giving us that energy. Now, sleep, unfortunately, it kind of moves down that priority list for a lot of people, though, right? So this is a sign for you, if you're not a good sleeper, to try to make it as much of a priority as you can. And you knew I was going to say this with an energy webinar, right? So, um, but just to get a little bit of science background of kind of how it works with our energy and kind of what we should shoot for, right? There's two stages of sleep. We have REM, which stands for rapid eye movement, and then non-REM. So according to a Harvard article on sleep and energy from January of this year, non-REM is broken down into three stages as well. So we have light sleep, deeper sleep, and deep sleep. So, sleep specialists believe that the last stage in non-REM is the stage that appears to be the one that plays the greatest role in energy specifically. Now, again, lots of different things going on here with our sleep, and we can't really control whether we're in that stage specifically, but there's always going to be things that pop up, but if you can control what you can, it's going to help you get as much of that good quality, deeper sleep as you can. So again, plug in the webinars today, apparently. I have a webinar from 2024 on sleep. It's called Unlocking Sleep Secrets. So again, if you want to get deeper into it, go ahead and check that out if you want to listen to me blab a little bit longer. But just a few things to be mindful of overall when it comes to sleep and how to set yourself up for success. So, 7 to 9 hours is the general recommendation for sleep. Again, some people might need a little more, some people might need a little less. You're going to know with those energy levels, right? That's kind of how you determine what sleep you need, is you see how you feel. If you can stick to a schedule, that's ideal as it helps create that sleep wake schedule or cycle, excuse me, that includes that proper time of that melatonin production that I talked about earlier. Now, if you can't go to bed at the same time, create a routine before you go to bed to help signal your brain and your body that it's time to start shutting it down. So this can include things like meditation, a shower, a bath, really anything that calms you down and that you can use to create the same experience before you go to sleep. Now, unplugging from electronics can be a really fantastic part of that routine and is a good tip in general to help sleep, right? When we talk about, there's lots of different things, just the stress response we have with things that we're seeing on our phone and things like that is a whole nother story, which we'll talk about in the stress management part. But the light that comes from those devices too can mess up that melatonin production and different things like that. So lots of reasons to unplug as far ahead as possible from that bedtime. And then just looking at your environment, right? Mattress, sheet, pillow quality, other factors like sound. Some people use sound machines, temperature, making sure it's conducive to sleep, and light, trying to make it as dark as possible. And scents too. I mean, we talked about scents that perk us up. There's scents that are calming as well. I think someone put that, lavender, things like that. Lots of different ways that you can help your sleep. So much information out there. I put a website that I refer to frequently, sleepfoundation.org. Lots of good just articles and then just tips in general that are going to help you figure out what works for you for that sleep. Again, everyone's got different situations, right? You might be a shift worker and you're trying to sleep during the day. You might have those kids or, a spouse that snores or something like that. So there's lots of different tips and things like that. So do what you can. Um, on that. Oh, yes, I missed the sleep journal. I apologize for that. When we talk about improving our sleep, we need to figure out what the cause of maybe lack of sleep is, right? Sometimes it's obvious, right? When you know there's an outside factor that's affecting your sleep. Sometimes it's not so obvious. Sometimes it's, oh shoot, I had some caffeine later in the day, or I had a stressful day and I was thinking about that late, or I checked my phone late and that, worked up my stress response and I wasn't able to sleep. So what a sleep journal does is it helps you figure out, do some fact finding missions, if you will, to figure out what might be causing the sleep issues. So it's just like journaling in other areas, which I'm going to talk about again with the stress management. If you can narrow down and become aware, that awareness factor of what exactly is causing that lack of quality sleep, then you can start to make changes. Again, some are going to be out of your control, and it is what it is, but there's a lot that are going to be in your control or even partially in your control that you can do to set yourself up again for success with that sleep. All right. Nutrition is next. This is a big one too. Well, they're all big ones, right? What we fuel our bodies with makes a massive difference in how we feel energy wise, right? So, what do we want to look for in foods that can give you the best energy? I already talked about the quick energy, so I'm going to reiterate some of that stuff, but just overall in general, eating well is going to benefit your health. So, most of this is not really going to be new to you, but first is unprocessed foods. So this is simply looking for foods as close to their natural form as possible, right? These foods are going to be utilized most efficiently by the body. And again, your body knows what to do with natural food. So it's going to break it down well. It's going to give you that longer lasting energy. Again, when we're combining the multiple nutrients, if you will, with like the carbs and the protein, that type of thing, and fat as well. So things like fruits and veggies. Fruits and veggies have so many natural nutrients and vitamins as well that just help your body function at its top level, especially when it comes to energy. Again, we've got the natural sugar and carbohydrates that are body's first choice of energy, and then we've got so that fiber. I think someone mentioned with the oranges too. There's lots and lots of natural things that are going to help us. So what we want to do, we want to get five servings at least of fruits and veggies a day. And if you don't have access to fresh, frozen still a great choice. Canned as well. Just look at that ingredient label to be sure that they haven't added any sugar or other ingredients. And then other minimally processed proteins are a good option to look for too. So eggs, fish, dairy, nuts, quinoa, lentils, beans. What protein does is it helps fight that fatigue and tiredness by keeping your muscle mass up. It helps keep you fuller longer because protein breaks down slower, like I mentioned already. It can help prevent sugar crashes because of that longer sustained breakdown process, right? So even if you've got some sugar, if you get a little bit of a high with that, you won't crash as much if you've got that protein still working in your body to give you that level energy. Now, general dietary guidelines suggest around 56 grams of protein for men, 46 for women, but that's going to vary pretty widely depending on your situation. So do some research. Um, Protein powder is an option as well. Just again, look at that quality because it's going to be more of a processed option, right? You can't really get away from the processed protein powder, but there's better and not so good. So do your research on those ones. And then whole grains are a good option as well. Keep that body functioning properly. 100% whole wheat breads, oats, those types of things. I mentioned this already in the quick tips, but again, complex carbohydrates that are in those whole grains, They break down slower than refined grains. So your white breads, your white pastas, your baked goods, those are stripped of a lot of the nutrients and the fiber that give us that sustained energy. And we're not going up and down with the sugar crash, right? Um, I said it already, but carbohydrates are very important for our body, and they are the primary source of energy. It's what we look for, what our body looks for first. It's that quality, again, that we tend to do not so great at that backfires on the energy front specifically. So, again, look at labels, look for 100% whole wheat when you're looking at your breads, your pastas, brown and wild rice. We've got whole grain oats, barley, quinoa, which is on both the protein and the carb source, which is fantastic. Again, these are not the only options, right? Lots of options out there. And then liquids, right? I've already talked about water, and that it has its hand in a bunch of body functions and plays a large part in quick energy, but it is by far the best thing you can drink for long-term energy as well. Because again, you're sustaining your body and sustaining all of those processes when we're drinking enough water. So focus on that first. All right, let's touch on caffeine here for a second. Now, we know caffeine works to give you energy, right? Research shows that some caffeine is generally okay, but what we get to is we can easily go overboard with the amount of caffeine, and it can have negative long-term effects on your body. So moderation is the mantra here. Don't shoot the messenger, but the American Heart Association recommends keeping your caffeine intake below 100 milligrams, which is equal to about 2 8-ounce cups of coffee. Now, again, it's not a terrible thing, but the other thing to be mindful of is that the other things that we're adding to our coffee a lot of times, right? I'm not going to say don't have caffeine, but if you need it, best option to not hinder your long-term energy is black coffee and unsweetened tea. That's ideal, right? And then try not to have caffeine right away in the morning. If you can wait 2 or 3 hours after you wake up to have that first caffeine, this gives your body the ability to use its natural energy from sleeping. You're not just like giving it a big dose of caffeine and then your body's like, oh, I don't need that energy, right? So it messes up your own body's energy levels. And then if you can limit it in the afternoon, which most of you have heard, right? So it doesn't affect your sleep. You're getting on that good path to utilize it the best way for your body to get it into that good natural state, right? So if we're doing all of these other things that we've talked about, ideally you won't need that caffeine supplement as much to keep that energy up. Now, I'm not saying this is easy by any means. I'm just saying that's what's been shown to be the best way to use caffeine, right? Your call from here. Straight facts. All right. Moving on before you can yell at me. Um, Exercise is next. So we hear this sometimes when it comes to exercise and energy specifically. I talked about energy or exercise being a quick tip with just like getting up and moving, but we hear this a lot. When I exercise, I feel more tired. I'm more fatigued. So yes, absolutely. Short term, your body's going to fatigue from a longer exercise bout, right? That's what happens. We deplete our energy stores when we exercise. But long term, what it does is it builds that body back up stronger, right? It makes your body more resistant to that tiredness the more you exercise. Your heart's more efficient, your muscles are more efficient. That leads to bigger energy levels throughout your day, long term. So let's go back to elementary science class with me. I feel like a lot of you know what I'm going to say, right? When we exercise, we create more mitochondria. And mitochondria are what? They're the powerhouses of the cell, right? Again, going back to fourth, fifth grade, whatever grade you learned it in. So, powerhouses of the cell, mitochondria, they create fuel for our bodies to use. So, if exercise increases our body's production of them, we've got more stored energy to use. And like I mentioned in the quick tips as well, exercise increases oxygen to our body and our brain, which also helps mitochondria's efficiency. And the hormones you get from regular exercise that help your mood help that energy long term too. Regular exercise also helps us deal with stress, which we'll talk about in a minute, also helps us sleep better, which we already talked about. So many good reasons to get out and just move your body consistently. And you do not have to be a marathoner or a bodybuilder for the energy benefits of exercise. Recommendation is 150 minutes per week of moderate exercise. That's not running, that's not powerlifting. It's getting that heart rate up a little bit throughout the week. Again, energy benefits specifically, you don't need much to start to feel that energy benefit. So, if you don't do anything right now for exercise, just make it a goal to do something, right? Every journey begins with a single step, as they say. 5 minutes, that's all. Bonus points if you can get that 5 minutes outside, take your water bottle with you. Again, combine all these good things to get that energy up. Use all these quick tips together, and you're going to see some good things. All right, last but certainly not least, to help with that long-term energy, stress management. This one I feel like we can feel a lot of times, right? If you're stressed, you feel more tired mentally and physically. Stress activates our body to release stress hormones like cortisol that wreak havoc on our mind and body, especially when it's being released all the time if you've got chronic ongoing stress. So, all of these things you might be doing in other areas of your health may not feel enough if you don't address that underlying stress concern too, right? So again, with this topic, it's much bigger than the few minutes I have left. So I encourage you to do your research. We do have weather webinars on stress management specifically. Figure out what works best for you. But a couple things that the coaching team has found, and personally, we've found to help manage stress. We're not going to get rid of stress, right? It's how we manage it for the most part. So I talked about sleep journaling. So journaling here as well. Take some time each day, however much you can, just to sit with your feelings. It's so helpful to just help your brain stop and help work through stressful times. Being intentional with those thoughts is the first step to help sorting out what's really going on and how you're feeling about it. Don't underestimate the power of just jotting things down, using an app, even doing a video journal, right? Someone threw out the Calm app. Love that. Insight Timer is another one that I typically recommend. So many different options depending on what you like too, as far as how you like to, I'll talk about meditation here in a second, but there's meditations, there's different things to look at. If you're not ready for an actual app or journaling, just take time in your car on your commute. Take time when you're in the shower, time when you're calm, just to talk to yourself in your head or out loud as well, as a step that can get those feelings out. And that can help feel better. That can help take some of that weight off, which is going to make our energy levels start to go up. Gratitude journal I threw in there as well, where you focus on the positives. So it's great to get those bad thoughts out sometimes in a journal, but it's even better to not forget the positives, to remember those positives. I love these because you can go back and reread good things when you're maybe not having the greatest day too. And then that just brings you to kind of focusing on that positivity. It's not easy a lot of times. We have to kind of rewire our brain to recognize the positive and not only see negative, because that's kind of how we're built. That's kind of our biology, is to see negative and threats, right? We kind of have to work to think, to stop those negative thoughts and look at the positive. It's hard, but it can be done, right? Things like limiting social media and news can help with this, right? You can stay informed, but not be overwhelmed at the same time. So don't forget that. Other daily habits to think about incorporating, meditations, deep breathing, which I already mentioned a little bit. And then the other pillars of health, right? Exercise, sleep, nutrition. Every one of these things is interconnected and they all have an impact on each other. It's up to you whether that connection is going to be positive or negative, right? But one positive thing in one area is going to help in another area. It snowballs in a very, very good way. So just pick one thing, one small change, and go from there. And also, if you feel like stress is more than you can handle on your own, do not be afraid to reach out to a professional for help. Just like a physical therapist helps rehab a body part, a mental health therapist, they're both therapists, right, is there to help rehab your mind. And remember, both of these require you to do your part as well. So do what you can when you can, but reach out if you need help. All right, let's wrap it up here. I've got 1 minute left. Energy can come from all sorts of places, right? So think about some of those tips we talked about today. Come up with your own in the moment energy boosters that work for you, but really focus on those long-term habits to help keep that energy up. so that you can have the energy for all the things that are most important in your life. Don't forget to think about that why too. Think about why you want energy, why you want to have fun in your life, right? Lots of reasons that we want to make changes to be healthier and happier and more energetic. All right, we will get to, I think I skipped it. Upcoming webinars. We've got, speaking of social media and stress and news, we're going to talk about navigating social media mindfully. That's going to be a good one. So make sure you check in there. We got Coach Jamie coming for that one. And then June, easy ways to eat more veggies. We talked about the benefits of veggies and fruits and such and energy. So veggies are not always easy to get in, right? We'll talk about some good ways to sneak those into your daily habits. And then if you do have lifestyle rewards, these may be questions. Your company may not ask questions. You might just be able to submit. Otherwise, if they are, these are the questions you will be asked. You can screenshot real quick. Otherwise, these will be on the slides to download on the blog when we get that post up here in the next day or two. And then, of course, we have our contact information. I don't know if you noticed the fantastic new look of the slide deck. Our marketing team kind of revamped our look, and I absolutely love it. So hopefully you love it as well. But we are on social media, so we've got all of that fun stuff that we're gonna, mindfully navigate, right? But we have some good tips on there, and then you can watch those past webinars, register for upcoming webinars here on our blog. So that website is there. And then you can reach out, give us a call. You can schedule a time to chat with one of our coaches. You can shoot us an email, healthcoach@healthcheck360.com. We would love to chat about anything that pops up and any health related things that you want to chat about.